Welcome into another episode of the Brett Allen Show. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening and being a part of today's conversation. Today, we have a very special guest, veteran actor Michael O'Neill. We're here to talk about this new Netflix film, Echoes. I've seen this movie twice now. I've watched it. It's just one of those that I feel like I could watch over and over again and really just get something different each time. Thank you for your time and for spending time with us to watch this.
Happy to, Brett. Really happy to join you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about this because this is, I would say, with a lot of content out there today, this is one that is uniquely different and interesting. You all have a phenomenal cast, including yourself, Michelle Monaghan. I mean, the list goes on and on. If people haven't had a chance to watch, can you let viewers in on what it's about and what they might expect when they have a chance to check it out?
Happy to. You and I are ahead of the curve a little bit in that the Netflix allowed us to see some of those episodes, but it's not dropped. All 7 episodes will drop on Friday, August the 19th.
So just 3 days.
Our viewers will have an opportunity to dive in, and it is a dive. I mean, it's incredibly suspenseful. Michelle plays identical twins, and they do a thing that identical twins do, which is that they'll swap lives, except they carry it on much, much too long into adulthood. So they're swapping families, they're swapping husbands, they're swapping, places that they live. It's a dangerous way to live. And one of them disappears. And as soon as that happens, then that entire construct begins to collapse. And there's a bit of a con game in it. There's all kinds of, but it's a suspense mystery, and it's wonderfully mysterious and in my experience, incredibly suspenseful. It's quite an e-ticket ride.
I like the Disney reference there, the e-ticket ride.
Yeah.
It is definitely an e-ticket ride. This is not a fast pass, jump to the front of the line experience. This is something that you really need to just, take time to watch. And again, we're talking on the 19th when this will be available for everybody to watch. Again, I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I just, I definitely want more. For sure. And it's kind of like one of those types of movies. It's got it's like if Minority Report met up with, a little bit of Blade Runner. It just has all kinds of different exciting elements in it. And one of the things that I find very cool is, something like this, which could be like a 2-hour feature, you all have taken the time to break it down into several episodes, and so we get to experience it a lot better and sort of get to know the characters on a more personal level, which I think Netflix does a great job with. That is allowing you all to tell your story, you know what I mean? And I think that's important, especially for something like this.
I do know what you mean, and it gives you it gives us enough time, because what happens to me when I watch it is I forget which twin she's playing. She's that skilled, and it's peculiar for me, Brett, because I have identical twin girls. I've been through this. It's probably typecasting, but I've been through this. They have this thing; they'll cross the axis from time to time, and when they do that, and it's usually with a personality trait, then I'll have difficulty telling them apart. But they're not still doing it at 23. I mean, but I agree with you. And it's both as an actor and as a viewer, I find myself hooked by it. And you just said something interesting about the fact that time was taken. And it's what I like about Netflix. It's the streaming services. A lot of really wonderful writers are moving to the long form.
Yes.
They don't have to yank things out. They can put more in. They can take time to tell that story. And it's compelling as an actor to get to work on it. And I have to think it's compelling for them to get to write it that way.
Yeah, I think that's, I think everybody enjoys, the collective experience of going into a theater. And I think Quentin Tarantino said something similar. He was making the case, especially within the last couple of years where, theaters and directors and writers are sort of trying to think about the fact, do people still want to go into a theater and sit? And I say yes, because you're in there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you are enjoying these things together as a group. But then on the flip side of that, you get to experience it in a different sort of way, which I think is important, especially for this kind of story, because it's if you like sci-fi, if you like suspense, people, you're gonna love this one for sure. Again, yourself and just all the other people that are a part of this. Was this something that happened middle, post pandemic when you started working on this? Or was it kind of maybe a hybrid of all of those things?
It was a little bit of a hybrid. You're right
Okay.
about that, in that we had to test continuously. They
Okay.
really couldn't take a chance on shutting production down, and we had to wear masks on set. The only time we could take them off was when we were filming. When we stepped into that quote unquote A zone, and then you lose the mask and you work with your other actors. But it's interesting because as long as we all test negative, then we're fine. But you have to be so careful because you can shut a production down, and that's millions of dollars, coming to a screeching halt.
Not good.
It doesn't like it. It doesn't like it. No, but Netflix took great care of us. They weren't. It's not that it wasn't a question of being obsessive with them. It was a question of being consistent.
Okay.
This is what we're going to do. This is what you have to have. And this is what we're going to abide by. So once those ground rules were established, then we could play.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good, you don't want to shut a production down. For
No.
any reason. I used to live as a sidebar here in New Mexico, and the film industry is huge there. And I got to work on a few projects, and I was working on one in particular. I won't mention the director's name, but something happened, and they ran out of money basically and couldn't pay people. So it shut down for a long period of time, and then eventually everybody was able to go back to work.
Right.
But I get the point here. You've always chosen, very interesting projects. Before that, my next question I do want to ask, is there something that you look for in particular when choosing a project? Because I would assume at this point in your career, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have a little bit, if not a lot, of say of sort of what you're choosing. What particularly attracts you to do something and to go, I want to commit my time to this, specifically like this, or maybe Messiah that was on Netflix as well, because it's all very interesting and unique projects.
Thank you for the question, because not everybody asked that. I've been around long enough now that they kind of know what I can contribute, and
Okay.
and they know I want to contribute, which I think is important. But I'm drawn to projects, and I hate to say this euphemistically, but I love the honesty. I love the humanity of a project. I love the honesty of it. Is it a story? Is it a story worth the candle? And if it's worth burning the candle for, then yes, I'm interested in being involved. Now, there's certain stories, even if they're worth it, I'm not interested in being involved, just because of my background or where I think I want to lend what little bit of talent I have. And it's nice to be in a place now in the sort of fourth quarter of my career where I can go, yeah, that's for me, or no, that's somebody else's job.
Okay.
But I'm drawn to honesty a lot. I'm drawn to the humanity of it a lot. I love curiosity in writers. I love it when they, no one's ever explored this notion of identical twins to the best of not like this.
No.
And to have it, get on the track that it's on and lead us on the journey that it's on. I read this and I went, oh, wow, never seen it. Let's play. Let's go. Let's see, so
That's very smartly written, and I think that's one of the things, because you have great actors and storytellers who do these projects, but then it's up to the people who write and create too, that give you that, sandbox, as it's been said, to play in a little bit and, kind of be in the moment, right? Especially this, again, because there have not really been anything like this before. and now as we talk about this, I'm excited for the rest of the episodes to come out because I want to kind of see what happens to this because I've been on the edge of my seat. I don't know, sort of selfishly going back to the screener site and going, maybe they accidentally put in a fourth one or a fifth one. Not so much. You've done a lot of sci-fi and sort of this, I know, genre bending type storytelling. I want to touch on Messiah, which is another great Netflix project. That was, I think, equally as fascinating, but so different. In spite of what people might have thought was being told or expected, it was so different. Let's talk about that one just briefly here. I know you have limited time. I'm very curious about that in particular and sort of what drew you to that project. Because again, just another one that's just so uniquely different in genre bending.
Brett, that piece is fascinating to me because it poses the question: how would society react if a Messiah dropped in right now?
Yeah.
And it reacts sort of as you expect. Some people become true believers. Some people become skeptics. Governments are threatened by it. They want to find what's the angle, who's the And so I thought it was a wonderful representation of the what if. What if a Messiah dropped in? How would we respond? And how would we know? And particularly if it didn't look like what you thought it was supposed to look like. And therein lies the trouble. And in terms of my character in that, it's funny you should ask about him. I rarely judge characters. Probably the worst person I have ever played.
Really?
That guy. Yeah.
It was pretty nasty.
Yeah, manipulative and self-serving and mean and cruel and, it was a bad guy. It took me a little bit to recover from that guy.
I could imagine because he was not a nice person. But that's okay though, because that's just a testimony to your great work. Yeah, I mean, I think, I really did like that subtext of how would, people respond if something did sort of happen where this person dropped in and, regardless of what one's position spiritually or religiously might be, I think it's a good question to take on and then again to create a long form series like Echoes. Again, people, this will be available on the 19th, so get your DVRs or your streaming apps ready because it's a good one. One last question, again, just a large body of work going all the way back to the beginning. If this is correct, Quincy M.E., which was a great show.
Jack Klugman.
Yes, and I've interviewed other actors who that's where they got their start at a very young age.
Yeah.
What interested you in becoming a storyteller or an actor? Like, where did that first spark for you, Michael?
I think I was probably a bit of a ham as a child. I was looking to get my parents' attention, and both of them sang. My parents, I can't sing a lick, but my parents both sang beautifully. So there was a sense that I had to pick something else out to sort of strike the canvas in the family. So I think storytelling was a natural draw, and I'm Southern. It's a rich history, storytelling. So I was drawn to it, and that I remember in college seeing Mark Twain done, and being utterly suspended. It was for me one of the highlight moments in my life. Because it answered a lot of questions for me, and the nature of that performance was so compelling that I thought, wow, an actor can do that? Well, let's go find out.
Yeah, and I like too that it wasn't necessarily driven by money initially, but just pure interest. And then, of course, here we are, years and years later, and we have this great film that you've been a part of, this anthology series, Echoes, which will be available on the 19th on Netflix. We've been chatting with actor Michael O'Neill. Thank you for your time, my friend. It's been a real honor chatting with you.
Thank you. I hope we can do it again.